Hi, I'm John Dady, your host for Patriots Unite. CPAC was being held the last few days. And, there's always talk about election integrity, which we have none, and about how we need to have election day on one day. Guess what? There's already a federal law, and there's been a federal law in the books since 1845, stating when federal elections are to be held. It is the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. There's multiple very good reasons for that because when we were originally founded, the election period was several weeks long, and that just was not the right way to do it. If you read the law, and I probably have it on here somewhere. I posted a couple things to my Facebook page on Patriots Unite. Your host John Dady. So you can go to that site, and I have posted a few things on there that I think y'all find very interesting. Yes, it will take you a little bit of time to read them and to get the gist of what's being mentioned here. But it's serious information that nobody is talking about. Let's go over here. Let's see if I can see if this thing is on the screen here. Share screen. Still learning all this stuff, obviously. So I'm going to share that. All right, here's my cursor. Sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate. All right. Hopefully y'all can see this. And you can see where you can go to find it to read the entire thing. See, we already have a day when we're supposed to have elections. We are supposed to have election day, not days, not weeks, not months. Mail-in voting is not part of election day. Early in-person voting is not election day. We've always had an absentee in one way or another, started with the military. If you're out of country, you're fighting, whatever, and you can't be at your local polling place, then obviously you can vote absentee. I don't have a problem with absentee with evidence of who you are, obviously, 1 week from the general election date. Okay? Because a lot of things can happen to a candidate. You might find out something, the October surprises, they're real and they're all the time. So you want to wait till the last minute. I had to vote absentee this last time around because I had surgery. So I voted absentee before I had the surgery. There's been times I voted absentee because I knew I wasn't going to be home at my precinct to vote. Okay, go in, show my ID, go to the local election board, and I vote. That's fine. Early in-person voting is not legal. Neither are mail-in ballots. They're not legal. So I have mentioned to multiple elected officials in my state and nationally, and have been pounding this issue for, I don't know, since it started, since the COVID was used as a reason to get mail-in voting, that it wasn't legal then. It's not legal now. It's in violation of federal freaking law, folks. Education is a wonderful thing. So please take the time to read this. And, President Trump tonight was saying, we got to get our Republican governors to have one election day. What I've been trying to do is get our Republican governors to merely say, in our state, we are going to abide by existing federal election laws, which does not allow for these early voting in person or mail-in voting at any time. Doesn't allow for that. So we're just going to follow existing federal law. That's what I want our Republican governors to do. I have no voice, but between all of you out there, that maybe you can spread the message. We're not needing to reinvent the wheel here. We just need to use it. It's just really that simple. So this has been up for a while. Of course, you guys can pause this anytime you want. And there's where we're at on that. So there already is an election law regarding federal elections. The federal government decides when those elections are to be held, and they decided that in 1845. Okay, for very good reasons. So read the law, read the background on it. Anybody who knows a governor or a senator or a president or, like Trump, send it to them. I really don't think these guys even know. The overwhelming majority of people that I talked to who I thought would have known that we have this law didn't have a clue. So you can't uphold or defend something when you don't know it exists. It exists, and I shouldn't be surprised that our elite aren't aware of this. But if they were aware of this law, then the Trump campaign should have filed in 2020 on those states that did this, should have filed a lawsuit against them for violating federal law by allowing early in-person voting and mail-in balloting. It's never been legal at federal elections. He should have challenged it on that level alone, on that law alone. And he'd have won. He'd have won that in court, and either there would have been a redo of the election, say, in those 7 states, or the whole damn thing would have just been overturned, started again. But they didn't file this lawsuit this way because they weren't aware of it. Why would you not bring a lawsuit forward to enforce existing federal law? Of course you would, if you know it existed. Apparently they didn't and still don't. So, yeah, to those governors, yes, please do that. You're not listening to me. Listen to President Trump. He just suggested it, but I'm going to make it even easier. Just draft a resolution that states that you're going to follow existing federal election law guidelines, laws. You're going to follow that. That's all you need to do. Otherwise, somebody's going to come along and sue you for holding federal elections in violation of federal law. That's something else that Trump should have done. His campaign should have done. Didn't do it. I can only imagine they don't know about the federal law, because why wouldn't you do it? Anyway, so election integrity is huge. Now, of course, they flat out stole the governorship, the Democrats did in Arizona. They didn't even bother to hide their election fraud. They did it in broad daylight, knowing that they'd find a friendly judge or two to just, ignore it. Say, well, you have to have intent. You have to show intent that you were intending to defraud or disenfranchise these voters. All right. When you deliberately print the ballots longer than what the scanners are, so to the size, I think it was 1 inch longer, so those ballots can be read. When you deliberately did that, you knew what the results were going to be, that those ballots would be kicked out. Wow. So that's intent. I went ahead and said, did you know, ma'am or sir, at these springs, did you know that those ballots were 1 inch longer than the standard ballot? I mean, come on, really, you're going to notice that. You're around these things all the time. Okay, you're going to notice if a ballot is the proper size. If they say, yes, we knew, then why didn't you stop it? You had the authority to. So we need to make them defend their positions, which we never do. We always try to defend against their bullshit. It's the wrong way to do it. We're always on defense. Got to put them on offense. So election integrity is huge. We are officially a banana republic. So what are we going to do about it, Patriots? We're just going to sit back and say, woe is me. There's nothing I can do. I suggest you read our founding documents. Read your Bible every day, but you know what you also should read? The second most important thing ever written in mankind after the Bible, as far as I'm concerned, is our founding documents. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all of it. Those are the second most important things in history, as far as I am concerned. And you all take it like, oh, well, they're just, I don't need to know it. There are constitutional experts, which I'm not one, but when I know that something's not right, I will refer to the Constitution. Okay. And it's pretty straightforward on most of the stuff in there. So, I guess it just knocked my stream off for some reason. Oh, there, hit the wrong button. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, learning curves, folks. So we have these things that we need to do. We have the authority to do it. You all being quiet about this. And when I ran for Congress this last time in 2022, I didn't run because I could win. I wanted to run to have at least a voice, go out and talk to people, and hopefully mix it up with our long-term rhino Congressman Sam Graves. Well, it turns out that nobody requires, the Missouri GOP doesn't require candidates to debate. It should be required that the incumbents debate. I mean, come on, they're reapplying for their job. They're saying, no, I'm not gonna talk to anybody who's challenging me for the job. It's a position. They have to apply for it every 2 years. But they don't have to put themselves out there for judgment, for conversations, for job interview to keep it. So it's this 2-year review. Every 2 years, he's up for review. U.S. House member is. How's your job performance been? You need to explain it to us, defend your positions. If you're not willing to do that, and they're not, why do you people keep voting for them? One of the biggest questions I had asked of me during the campaign this last year was, do I believe in term limits? And I'd ask them right back, do you? They would go, oh, yeah, I believe in term limits. So, okay, well, we have a congressman here you've put in for 11 straight election cycles. So I really don't believe that you believe in term limits, because every 2 years you have the ability to fire him. And you don't. So why would you expect me or somebody else to put term limits on them when you won't do it yourselves? Yeah. So all you people out there whining and complaining about term limits, you are the term limits. You are the boss. Act like it. The boss means you're in charge and you're responsible for everything that happens under your watch because you're in charge. That means you're in charge of your government, because you are. It's government of, by, and for the people, not of, by, and for the politicians. They get our power from our consent when we vote for them. Stop giving them your consent. It's really kind of simple, folks. It's not any more complicated than that. Stop it. We have the power. And all I hear, and one reason I ran for office is get out there and talk to a lot more people in person. I enjoy it. And I get a lot of feedback. And I hate to say it, they're just, they're down on themselves. They don't understand the power that they do actually possess in our form of government. And almost no one person understood that when I would talk to them about it. Says, this is our government set up this way. We're a representative republic, constitutional republic. We're not a democracy, never has been. There's reasons for that. You have the power over your federal government. You are the boss. You can alter this government or you can abolish this government. And a lot of people think, well, what if we did abolish the government? Well, what I think our founders meant on that, or at least what I mean by abolish, and it is in our documents, to abolish that existing government who is inhabiting the government at this time, not to abolish the Constitution. I mean, that thing's awesome. But to fire, revoke our consent to those governing us right now. We have that authority. We grant them consent to govern us with our vote. We don't have to vote for any of them. We can just say, you know what, here's our grievances. We're listening to them. You're fired. We abolish the government as it is currently constituted as far as elected officials. People always say to me, well, John, you just get more of the same. No, you won't. You think that the people actually did that? I mean, what are the odds? But if people actually did that, that's going to send a very clear, strong message to anyone else wanting to run for office. People say, well, we won't have a government. So, you know what? We'll take a worldwide timeout. The United States is taking a timeout from the world's bullshit because we got to clean up our own. Okay? Every state then has a mechanism for special elections. We have special elections. And trust me when I tell you, these other people who would be running for office then, they're going to be on the straight and narrow because they will realize then the people found their power and they used it. See what I'm saying, folks? So the world can do without us for a little while. I mean, come on. We got to reconstitute ourselves into what we're supposed to be. And we're sure as the hell not there. We have all these federal bureaucracies who basically create law through the administrative state. It's not even legal in the first place. Congress cannot assign its legislative lawmaking ability to anyone. That's plain in the Constitution. Yet they've been doing it for decades. And these agencies that are now inhabited by communists create law against us. This is what they mean by unelected bureaucrats. They're creating law and enforcing law, leveling fines, even prison terms, without a vote of the people. No, not good. Just, stop it, people. You have the power to stop it. I have implored as best I can certain people who could do it, that and it's another thing I say to all the Republican governors: kick Washington, D.C. bureaucrats, the agencies out of your states. We don't need any of them. Every one of those come with serious strings of consequences attached if we don't toe their mark. If we don't do what they're telling your state to do in order to receive federal monies from whatever agency, then there's a punitive punishment that's attached to it. Stop it. We don't need them. Every state in this country can run autonomously. We don't need DC. We don't need their Department of Indoctrination. Fire them. Say, goodbye, you're done. You're not welcome here in our state anymore. Same way with the EPA, Department of Agriculture. Just go down the list. We don't need those. We don't need the federal government with this agenda of socialism to be dictating to our states. So, when Marjorie Taylor Greene said last week or so about a national divorce, well, I'd say, yeah, national divorce in terms of this. Our 26 or 7 Republican states that we have divorce the federal bureaucracy. Say, you're done. No more in our state. States' rights, you're done. We can do that. We have the authority to do that. Do we have the will? I don't know. Right now, we don't. I'm the only one I've ever heard talking about this. I've been talking about this for, a decade. Get rid of the federal agencies in our state. Let's talk about Department of Education. Wow. It's, like I said, it's Department of Indoctrination. I spoke with one of the leaders in Missouri last year during the campaign and suggested that we 86, in other words, get rid of the Department of Education. Asked him, says, about how much money we getting from the federal government on that. He was right. It's about $1.5 billion a year, and that's just administrative BS. It's just money for them to play with. Doesn't actually go into teaching. And I says, yeah, okay, great. So he agreed with me. I says, we then need to increase the standards for becoming a teacher. Teaching degrees amongst the easiest degrees to get. We must make it the most difficult degree to get. And whatever they call that, social arts or liberal arts or whatever, we need to make it tough. No teacher should be teaching any class where the teacher hasn't passed a serious American history class, government class, learning about all three branches of government, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, all of it, but at least at 80% mark at all grade levels. Every teacher must learn this and have continuing education in that subject matter, or he or she cannot become a teacher. The teachers that we currently have, once we throw the Department of Education out, they will be required within 1 year to take these courses. I'm thinking something along like the Hillsdale College courses, something like that, because they're really good. Hillsdale, about Constitution, American history, things like that, and teach that. They can't teach what they don't know. These teachers, they're not immune from indoctrination and being dumbed down either, because it's been going on for over 40 years. Been in their colleges and universities for about 60 years. So they're a product of their education system. We need to do better. We have to do better. This generation, previous generation, we depend on them. Like right now, they depend on the boomers right now. Less and less as we're aging out. But we must hold them accountable now. So there's a lot of things about election integrity. Election starts and how the thought process starts in elementary school these days by the socialist Democrats teaching our kids that communism is good, everything else is evil. Vote for this party because we want to do this. We want to make everything fair and equal, and there's no winners and no losers, and there's no right and no wrong. That's what they're being taught. We have to stop that. So, election integrity, until we fix that, which we can fix it next week, if our governors would just reaffirm that they're going to follow federal election laws, it's no more difficult than that. And I wish President Trump would have said that. That's all you got to do. Wow. You can hear the Democrats screaming over that, which would be wonderful. Take away, make it an issue, a national issue, that they have been violating federal law, because they have violated federal law. Yeah, don't believe me. Look it up. I put it up there on the screenshot for 3 or 4 minutes. So do your own due diligence, like I do. So, I can lead you the right direction, I hope. I can't make you do anything. I just hope that you're patriot enough and care enough about your family, your offspring, to do something, to learn, educate, and execute our agenda. And our agenda should be to stop the Democrat Party. They are the enemies within. Our founders warned us about it. Of course, we're so, I don't know, people always say, well, it can't happen here. Well, that's called denial. The left's been playing out on that for decades. Yeah, they're like, well, we can do whatever they want because the right, they're not believing us. So we're going to get away with a lot of things. And they literally have, because we were just in denial of anybody doing the things that the left has done because it sounded so batshit crazy. Again, when you have people like this talking crazy like that, and they start executing these things, you have to stop writing them off as just being insane. While they are insane, it doesn't make them incompetent and incapable of achieving their agenda. So what's that make the rest of us who sit back and just go, Well, didn't think they were going to do that one. If nothing else, have a little bit of, pride in yourselves that, right now we're being led around by a bunch of mental midget maniacs, and we're sitting back and letting it happen and saying, well, we got to start winning school boards and local elections. And that's all well and good. That's fantastic. That takes generations to do. We don't have generations. 2024, that's it. If we do not, and listen to me really good, if we do not stop this election nonsense with early in person voting and mail in votings, we're never going to win another national election again. Period. Okay. They flat out stole multiple elections in 2022. None of them carry legs, but that the Republican senator running in Nevada, in Arizona, they should have won as well. I'm sure they did, but and then Walker, although not the best candidate, at least he's not Satan's brother, like that other Yahoo, who I'm not even going to say his name. But and in fact, Walker was up by 100,000 or so votes. He was up by a ton until that last update. That last update came in, and there was like 117,000 votes on that ballot dump. And the other dude got like 90% of them. And that brought him up into the tie with Walker. Who gets 90% of a ballot dump of 117,000? That doesn't happen. But it can happen with election ballots. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of those laying around. You think the DNC doesn't have its fair share, which it shouldn't have any, have access to those ballots that they just fill out for their preferred candidate? Yeah, that happens. This is why even the Democrats, as recently as 10 or 12 years ago, were against mail-in ballots. This is right for fraud. Exactly. They didn't want nothing to do with it. They had to do it because they couldn't beat Trump any other way. They can't beat the Republicans, a good one, any other way. They have to cheat. Look it up. Google Chuck Schumer mail-in ballots and find out what his position was on mail-in ballots. Nancy Pelosi's. You do your homework, you'll find out they were against them, and they told you why. They only became in favor of them because they knew they couldn't win in any other way. Also, on my Patriots Unite site on Facebook, I posted information from the Census Bureau regarding the 2020 election. Now, the Census Bureau keeps track of most everything that goes on like that in this country. And just look at the numbers. Read the article. Read what the numbers mean. Okay. Don't read anything more into it than just the numbers. Let your head be free of what the mainstream media told you about how many people voted, because the number of people who voted don't add up according to the Census Bureau. They use a different set of numbers. When you guys read this, you will see which set of numbers they use. They use a set of numbers to justify the number of votes. Okay, if they'd use the actual real set of numbers, there's no way that 155 million votes were cast. No, it bears it out. So again, do a little homework, do some due diligence. Yes, there's some math involved. I'm sorry, folks, but it is what it is. It's not that complicated. So educate yourselves, and I'm sure you're going to be furious. And we were lied to. It took me about 3 seconds to know I was lied to when I woke up the next morning and realized that Trump's millions of votes lead vanished. Okay, I already knew how they were going to do it. I must have sent President Trump 100 tweets during the campaign season warning him, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one, about these mail in ballots and early voting, what they were going to be used for. I don't know. Anyway, folks, it's getting late because it's 10:46. This is recorded, obviously, and I'll get it up there and schedule a time for it. And here in the fairly near future, I'm going to probably bump this up to an hour and do it live. So if any of you, want to take the time and offer some suggestions or feedback, go to my Patriots Unite with host John Dady on Facebook and give me some feedback. I'd really, really appreciate it because I really don't want to think that every one of these things I'm just talking to myself and saving it on recording. You know what I'm saying? So participation key in everything. Thanks all. Have a good day.